Hello everyone, this is Evie, and today I want to go over 3 LEGO spaceship Mocs that I have created. The Pulsar, the Seraph, and a cargo ship. The first of the 3 ships is this little blue one that I like to call the Pulsar. When I originally designed it, I actually gave it the name Blue Jay, but eventually I decided that that name was a little too generic and not that interesting, so I ended up renaming it to Pulsar. I thought that was a much more interesting name, and I also felt that it fit the ship better than the original name did. Now, the thing about this ship, and all the ships in these Mocs, is that there are pieces in them that were not originally designed to be used for spaceships that I decided to use for that purpose, because I thought it'd be interesting to reinterpret the pieces in that way. And this ship uses a Lego City car chassis piece. This piece that's usually used to build a car on top of. I looked at that and said, hey, what if we put a spaceship on top of it instead? And this is the end result of that line of thinking. The actual design itself is pretty simple. It's honestly kind of a really weird design, I'm going to admit, with the big fin sticking out in the back and just this little whole cockpit area just sticking up as much as it does, and a long nose that goes out as long as it does, and then you have these 2 blasters on the side of the nose. So it is a very weird design, I will admit, and I don't know, it might be different for some people. There's a part of me that kind of just likes the weirdness of it. Maybe other people feel differently about that, but for me personally, the weirdness kind of like just works for me in some strange way. You can only fit 1 person at a time. In these ships, there's only room for 1 passenger, and that passenger is also the pilot. So it's like a very confined space, not claustrophobic friendly. I actually do have some lore behind this ship that I created because I thought it'd be fun. I like to imagine that this is a warship, and that its primary function is to go fast. And I actually like to imagine that because of how fast this ship is, that makes them very difficult targets to hit, which means that in the war effort, Pulsar pilots have the lowest casualty rates of any ship out there. I like to imagine that because of its fast speed, it is best utilized for surprise attacks on enemies, where these guys can come in and they can strike, and they'll be out before the enemy even knows what hit them. Even though the Pulsar does have a lot of advantages with its speed and how it can be utilized, I'd like to think that there are some drawbacks to it. For one, I already brought up how there's only a maximum capacity of just 1 person that could be in a ship at a time. Another drawback is that these ships, even though they're really fast and really helpful, they're not very common. And the reason why they're not very common is because you need to be specially trained to be able to pilot a Pulsar. And the barrier of entry and the requirements needed to pilot this ship are so high that most people do not meet the qualifications, which, while they are very useful ships in some circumstances, they just are rare to come by because of the drawbacks. I'd say that of the 3 ships that I've built, this one is my second favorite. I think mostly because I do kind of like the weird design of it. I think also because the fact that it is blue, and blue is my favorite color, so I can't help but feel some biased attachment to it because of that. But yeah, this, again, I admit this is a really weird design. It is just visually just a strange looking thing, and I have considered redesigning it to be a little less weird, like redesign this in a way that keeps the same general shape of it, but it changes it changes it up a little bit so that it looks a little less strange looking, or maybe I just might just fully embrace the strange look of it and just like keep it as it is. I don't know, but that's everything that I have to say about the Pulsar. So now I'm gonna move on to the Seraph. So right off the bat, I think that I want to make it clear that the Seraph is my least favorite of these three Mocs. When I set out to make this one, I wanted to use pieces that were primarily used in a Lego airplane build. I remember over 10 years ago now, I remember getting a Lego city set that it was like this fishing boat that was sinking, and there's this lifeguard plane that was coming to rescue the fishers. And a lot of the pieces that are used in this mock come from the airplane part of that set. You could definitely see it, like these orange pieces on the underside, as well as like the white pieces on the upper side, are definitely like pieces that one would see in a Lego airplane. And the idea that I had is that I thought, wouldn't it be fun to take Lego pieces that were originally made to create an airplane and repurpose them to create a spaceship? Now, this is probably not a bad idea in theory, but in execution, I'm not entirely sure if I pull it off all that well. Because if I were to show this to someone, how obvious would it be that they were looking at a spaceship? I'm not sure it would be all that obvious, honestly. I don't know, like, maybe this piece right here, this front part right here, could be used in a spaceship design in some way, but the rest of it, it just doesn't really, it to me just does not really give off that impression that I'm looking at a spaceship. So that's part of the reason why this is my least favorite build. But regardless, it's the build that I have, so might as well just tell you what I have. In terms of the lore for this one, it's not as well developed as the Pulsar's lore. This ship is much more common than the Pulsar. The barrier to entry is much lower, they're easier to pilot, and they are much more common, while the casualties that you would see for the Seraph are much higher because they're not as fast as the Pulsar. They're decently fast ships. You could get some good speed in the Seraph, even if it's nowhere near what you could get in the Pulsar. This ship, as you can see, it has a lot more room in it, so it can carry a lot more passengers, which is one plus that it has over the Pulsar, is that it can carry a lot more people. It also has some decent weapons on it. Outside of the lore, the weapons that I put on it are just like these flick fire missiles, which are kind of I don't know if flick fire missiles are as common anymore in Lego sets. Maybe they are, but nowadays I've noticed that there are a lot more stud launchers on sets than there are flick fire missiles. Part of me kind of has some nostalgia for the flick fire missiles, because a lot of the sets that I got when I was a kid had the flick fire missiles on them. And even when it came to a lot of sets that I didn't get as a kid that I wanted, they still had like the flick fire missiles on them. So flick fire missiles are something that I sometimes incorporate into the things that I make, although sometimes I'll also use other things like stud launchers. When it comes to the engines on this, I don't know how happy I am with how they turned out. I guess they technically get the job done, aesthetically speaking, but for the back, I just put studs into the Technic holes, which I'm not sure if that really gets the idea across effectively or not. Maybe it would have been better if I put like an inverted dish into there. I think that an inverted trans-orange dish in there would have done a much better job at simulating the effect of fire, similar to what I did with the Pulsar, because I put a dish in there too, and I think that kind of does a much better job at simulating the effect. At least I think it does. Or maybe I could put like a big fire piece in there. I think that probably would have worked too, maybe even better. But regardless, it is what it is. The Pulsar, like I said, or no, not the Pulsar, the Seraph, my bad. The Seraph, my least favorite of these three builds. I'm not sure if I really did a good job at making it look like a spaceship. It just kind of looks a little weird to me in a way that's not appealing like the Pulsar was. Honestly, I have been considering just taking this apart when I'm done because I just don't really feel much of an emotional attachment to this design. But that's all I have to say about the Seraph. And last but not least, we have the cargo ship. I think the process of elimination would make it fairly obvious to anyone that this is my favorite build out of the three of them. And I think the reason why that is because I think this one looks the best. I think this one looks the most like a spaceship out of the three that I built. I think that the cargo ship is the only one out of the three of them where if I were to show this to someone with no context, they would instantly pick up on the fact that this is a spaceship, and that is why it is my favorite of the three. I did something similar with the Seraph where I used this front piece, which is usually utilized in plane and helicopter sets for Lego City. I think this particular piece I got from a heliplane set a little over 10 years ago. And I think that I did a much better job incorporating this canopy piece into a spaceship design than I did for the Seraph. There's a lot of things that I just really love about this Moc and the way it turned out. I like the use of the white and green with a little stripe in the middle, basically putting inverted slopes right up against normal slopes. And the way it's designed, it does kind of create a bit of a gap in the side, which is kind of awkward, but for some reason there's a part of me that kind of likes the gap. I'm not sure why. The use of these engine pieces, the back, I think really help sell the spaceship look. I didn't put anything in them to simulate what's the word I'm looking for? I didn't put anything in to simulate, I guess you could call it fire coming out of the back to simulate the propulsion that they would create. But maybe it's better left to the imagination. Or at the very least, I could probably put something in there that could be easily removed, so you can you could put it on display, pretend oh, it's not flying, it's just parked right now, and then you can put them back in and fly it around and play with it and pretend now it's flying around. So this is only the three builds where actually. Now that I think about it, I was going to say that this is the only three build where you can't really detach the front part, but that's not true. You actually can. You can see that there's a little chair there where the guy is driving. But I think that in universe, I think that feature is basically just for the person messing around with this to give them convenience to make it easier for them to open this thing and put a minifigure in. In the actual lore of this thing, the only way to get in is by opening the hatch in the back. And you can see that there's kind of some room in there, but not that much, where you can put in some the crates and boxes full of supplies, and this guy would go on, would take off and deliver the supplies to wherever they need to go. So this is the only of the three ships where I didn't really give it a fancy name. I just call it the cargo ship. It doesn't really have that much lore behind it outside of the fact that it's just meant to deliver supplies. I don't think that this would be a warship. I don't think it has any weapons on it. I don't think it has any defenses. I think that this is basically an Amazon spaceship, more or less. This is basically what serves the purpose of delivering packages that someone bought. Someone who lives on a colony on the moon purchased something, and then this guy gets in this little spaceship and he flies to the moon and drops it off. But lore aside, I think the biggest reason why I love this so much, and the thing I'm the most proud of, is the greebling on the roof. Greebling, if you're not aware, it's miscellaneous tiny details that are attached to a spaceship to give it more detail, to make it look more complex. You see greebling details like this a lot on ships in Star Wars. It's probably one of the best examples of greebling that I can point to. And making greebling with Lego, I found, is really fun because you could just take a bunch of random pieces and place them any way you want to, and it kind of creates a lot of complex detail that really adds to the thing overall. And I think that the use of the greebling on the roof is another part that really sells the whole spaceship thing. Some of these I like to imagine do serve a practical purpose. Like you have a satellite dish up right up in the front that could send out signals, and you have an antenna directly behind it that can pick up signals. And I guess like this little telephone piece could probably serve as like a gas line of some kind, like that feeds oxygen to the ship or something. And then you have basically just a bunch of random pieces put in different places. Like you have these little plates at the bars right next to each other that could, I guess, could be another gas pipe. You have this pedal piece, which I'm not really sure what function it serves, but you know, it's there. You also have like this little bucket handle next to this little tile with a pin in it. You have this 2x2 plate with a little hinge on it, and the hinge doesn't attach to anything, it's just there. Although I guess like you could interpret it as like this actually does attach to something. Like maybe there's like a tool, like maybe they could use this like to put like there's a bigger package that's delivering, like this could like could connect to this and could carry it on top of itself. Or maybe when it's like docked and it's not going anywhere, they attach it to something so that it's locked there and no one can steal it. You also have like binoculars in the back. Don't know what purpose those serve, but you also have this little joystick, which again, I don't know what purpose it serves. It's just there to add some more complex detail. And you have the railings on the side so that to like seal the whole thing in and make it look a little more natural. Yeah, I'm very, very pleased with how this turned out. I do think that this is the best of all the three that I've built, and I think I'm going to keep this around. The Seraph, I'm probably going to be taking apart after this. The Pulsar, I'm either going to take apart or at the very least just redesign. This one I'm keeping. I'm going to keep it. I'm really happy with the way it turned out, and I have no intention of getting rid of it anytime soon. And that is everything that I have to say about all three of these Mocs. As usual, I will be posting a speed build video for all three of these ships that show how they're built, so if you want to make these yourselves, you can follow along with those videos. But that's all for me for today, so come by next time. Can't wait to see you there. Till then, EB out.